Before MTV changed everything and the digital age rewrote the rules, the 1970s belonged to the rebels. The wild ones, the artists who didn't just make music, they made headlines. Some shocked us with their stage presence, others with their lifestyle choices, and a few with decisions that changed rock and roll forever. Let's bring them back, starting with number 1. Number 10, Alice Cooper. When Vincent Furnier transformed into Alice Cooper in the early 1970s, parents across America clutched their pearls and demanded answers. This wasn't just rock music anymore, it was theater, horror, and provocation wrapped in leather and mascara. The guillotine on stage during I Love the Dead, the live boa constrictor wrapped around his neck, the fake blood and simulated executions, Cooper turned rock concerts into grand guignol spectacle. Critics called it shock rock, church groups called it devil worship, and teenagers called it absolutely essential. By 1973, Billion Dollar Babies hit number 1 on the Billboard charts, proving that controversy sells records just as well as melodies. Cooper later admitted much of it was performance art, a character he could turn on and off, but in that moment he made millions believe rock and roll had finally gone too far. Number 9, Sid Vicious. His real name was John Simon Ritchie. And by most accounts, he could barely play bass when he joined the Sex Pistols in 1977. But punk wasn't about virtuosity, it was about attitude, anger, and authenticity, and Sid had all three in dangerous abundance. He shocked the world not just with his music, but with his self-destruction, his volatile relationship with Nancy Spungen, and ultimately with tragedy. When Nancy was found stabbed to death in New York's Chelsea Hotel in October 1978, Sid was charged with her murder. 4 months later, he died of a heroin overdose before standing trial. He was 21 years old. Sid became the ultimate symbol of punk's nihilism, a cautionary tale wrapped in leather and safety pins, reminding us that some shocks don't fade, they haunt. Number 8, David Bowie.
Don't tell your papa or he'll get us locked up and fined.
In 1972, British television audiences turned on Top of the Pops and witnessed something they'd never seen before, a flame-haired alien in a jumpsuit, calling himself Ziggy Stardust. David Bowie didn't just shock with costumes and makeup, he shattered every expectation about masculinity, sexuality, and what a rock star could be. Reportedly bisexual in interviews, androgynous on stage, and otherworldly in persona, Bowie gave permission to millions of outsiders to be themselves. Nostalgic, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars became a cultural earthquake, climbing to number 5 on the UK charts. Then, just as suddenly, Bowie killed off Ziggy in July 1973 at London's Hammersmith Odeon, announcing his retirement mid-concert. Of course, he wasn't really retiring, just transforming again, because David Bowie never stood still long enough to be categorized. If you're loving this trip through forgotten records, hit subscribe. We've got more stories from rock's golden age coming every week. Number 7, Keith Moon. The Who's legendary drummer didn't just shock with his playing, though his explosive, chaotic style redefined rock percussion, he shocked with his lifestyle. Astonished, Moon was famous for demolishing hotel rooms, driving Rolls Royces into swimming pools, and detonating cherry bombs in toilets. One famous incident involved blowing up a hotel toilet so spectacularly that it injured his leg with shrapnel. But beneath the madness was genuine genius. His drumming on Won't Get Fooled Again and Baba O'Reilly remains untouchable. The shocking part wasn't just the antics, it was how fast it all ended. On September 7, 1978, Moon died from an overdose of medication prescribed to help him quit drinking. He was 32, and rock lost one of its most brilliantly unhinged talents, a reminder that some stars burn too bright to last. Number 6, Ozzy Osbourne. On January 20th, 1982, technically just outside our decade, but the legend was born in the 70s, Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a live bat during a concert in Des Moines, Iowa. Reportedly, he thought it was a rubber prop thrown on stage by a fan. It wasn't, but that moment was just the crescendo of a decade-long campaign of shock. After being fired from Black Sabbath in 1979 for excessive substance abuse, Ozzy launched a solo career that leaned into his madman persona. There were rumors of dove biting at record label meetings, stage performances dripping with theatrical darkness, and a voice that critics noted could sound both demonic and heartbreaking. Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley's became anthems, and Ozzy became proof that sometimes the wildest risks lead to the greatest comebacks. Decades later, he'd become a reality TV star and beloved father figure, but in the 70s, he was simply untamed. Number 5, Freddie Mercury. When Queen released Bohemian Rhapsody in November 1975, radio programmers said it was too long, too strange, too operatic for airplay. At nearly 6 minutes, with no chorus and 3 distinct movements, it broke every rule. But Freddie Mercury didn't care about rules. His voice soared across octaves, his stage presence commanded arenas, and his flamboyant costumes and theatrical performances shocked audiences used to denim and t-shirts. Mercury never publicly discussed his sexuality during the 1970s, but his fearless androgyny on stage spoke volumes in an era of rigid masculinity. Bohemian Rhapsody hit number 1 in the UK for 9 weeks and became the most played song on British radio by the year 2000. Freddie shocked the world by being unapologetically himself, and in doing so, he gave millions permission to do the same. Number 4, Iggy Pop. The godfather of punk didn't earn that title by playing it safe. Iggy Pop, born James Newell Osterberg, shocked audiences throughout the 70s with performances that felt more like primal rituals than concerts. He'd smear peanut butter across his bare chest, roll in broken glass, dive into crowds with reckless abandon, and scream lyrics with a raw intensity that bordered on possession. The Stooges' Raw Power, produced by David Bowie in 1973, became a blueprint for punk. But it was Iggy's stage presence that truly revolutionized rock. Critics noted he performed like a man who didn't expect to survive the show. And for years it looked like he might not. Drug addiction nearly destroyed him multiple times. But Iggy survived, and his influence echoes through every punk, grunge, and alternative band that followed, proof that sometimes shock is just honesty without a filter. Number 3, Mick Jagger. By the 1970s, the Rolling Stones were already legends, but Mick Jagger kept finding new ways to shock. His lips, his hips, his androgynous swagger. Jagger was sexuality personified on stage, and it made conservative America deeply uncomfortable. During the 1972 tour, critics noted his performances were more erotic than musical, full of preening, posing, and movements that would make Elvis look modest. He wore jumpsuits that left little to imagination, pranced across stages like a rooster in heat, and sang lyrics that celebrated drugs, rebellion, and moral ambiguity. When the Stones released Some Girls in 1978, the album cover featured celebrity faces in wigs, sparking lawsuits and outrage. But controversy never hurt the Stones. Miss You hit number 1, and Jagger proved once again that shocking the establishment was just good business. Decades later, he's still moving like no one else, still shocking us by refusing to age gracefully. Number 2, John Lennon.
Living life in peace.
After the Beatles dissolved in 1970, John Lennon shocked the world not with rebellion, but with vulnerability. In December 1970, he released Plastic Ono Band, an album so raw and emotionally naked that critics didn't know what to do with it. Songs like Mother featured Lennon screaming in primal therapy-inspired agony, confronting childhood trauma on vinyl for millions to hear. Then came the political activism, anti-war protests, bed-ins with Yoko Ono, the FBI reportedly monitoring his movements. Imagine in 1971 became an anthem for peace, but even that shocked some with its call to abandon religion and nationalism. In 1972, the US government tried to deport him for his activism. Lennon shocked us by using his fame not for escapism but for change, reminding us that rock and roll could be a weapon for truth. And when he was murdered in December 1980, the world was shocked one final, devastating time. Number 1, Elvis Presley.
If not himself, then he has not to sail.
Wait, Elvis in the 70s? Yes, because the King's final decade shocked us in ways no one expected. The Elvis of the 1970s wasn't the rebel who shook his hips on Ed Sullivan, or the movie star who conquered Hollywood. This Elvis was bloated, struggling, performing in Las Vegas jumpsuits that grew gaudier as his health declined. And yet somehow he remained compelling, a tragic figure singing hurt and unchained melody with a voice that still carried magic even as his body betrayed him. His 1973 Aloha from Hawaii concert was broadcast globally via satellite, reaching over 1 billion viewers worldwide. But behind the spectacle was addiction, isolation, and pain. On August 16, 1977, Elvis died at Graceland at age 42. The shock wasn't just that he died, it was seeing how far he'd fallen, a reminder that even kings are mortal. Elvis's 70s shocked us with tragedy, but his music still lives forever. These 10 artists didn't just make music, they made history, challenged boundaries, and reminded us that rock and roll was never meant to be safe. From Alice's guillotine to Elvis's tragic finale, the 1970s gave us shock, spectacle, and songs that still echo today. Some of these legends are still with us, still touring, still creating. Others left too soon. Their shocks now memories preserved on vinyl and in our hearts. But every one of them changed what it meant to be a rock star, proving that sometimes the greatest art comes from the greatest risks. Which song hit you hardest today? Drop your memories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the decades that changed music forever.